So very good afternoon to all of you, and I'm thankful to all of you for your overwhelming response to all these webinars. So I'm getting a lot of comment from you on my WhatsApp, on my other social media profile. So today we are going to discuss about one of the very important issue regarding the spyware evidence. As of now, we see the spyware are being used by all the investigation agencies, people, and the ultimate objective in most of the cases is to find out what is the truth or to collect the relevant evidence. But in some cases, the same is also being used for the purpose of extortion, for the purpose of blackmailing. So first, we need to understand what is the legal status of the spyware. So from the legal perspective, we can divide them into two parts. First part is which are the legal and which are the illegal. So for the legal, the basic principle is that when I install a spyware at my location, it may be at my house, it may be at my office, it may be into my mobile, it may be the device which I am installing on my place. So then it would be illegal. For example, a person comes to me and I install a some device and record whatever the conversation is going on. So there is no illegality. Second is that when I install the spyware on the location of the another person. So I'm installing the spyware into the car of someone, into his house, into his computer, mobile, or any of the location belonging to the second person. So that would be the illegal one, right? So now in this session, we are going to discuss about number one, how the spyware are being used and what are the various issues relating to them pertaining to the electronic evidence. Then how it constitutes the crime and what are the relevant provision. Then we would be discussing about the admissibility. So these three issues which we are going to discuss. So just let me share my PPT. ठीक है. So first I'm going to discuss with you one of the latest judgments of Delhi High Court, where the court have held that the evidence collected through the spyware illegally could be an admissible evidence. And in this particular case, the court has stated that it would be admissible evidence. So till now, if we go to the foreign jurisdiction in US, UK and other countries, there such type of evidence is not allowed. But in the Indian domain, evidence, though illegally collected, would be admissible. So in this particular case, there was a dispute between husband and wife. So what the husband did, he installed a spyware into the mobile of the wife. That is the one part. Second, he also installed a video camera in the bedroom. He collected a lot of evidence, and that evidence was used in one of the divorce case. So the issue before the court was whether the data which was illegally acquired by the husband using these spywares is admissible in the court or not. So wife have challenged the admissibility as well as the authenticity on the various grounds. So the first ground was that these content, the material which have been captured in the form of audio and video is not authentic and has been tempered. Second, the device was illegally installed. So the evidence which is acquired is the illegally acquired evidence. Third, the act of the husband in installing the spyware is an offense under section 354D of the IPC, and therefore the wife contended that such evidence which is illegally collected is not admissible. When now the turn was of the husband, so the husband have stated that no doubt that the right of privacy is a right, but it is not absolute. It is subject to the exception. As far as the genuineness is concerned, husband filed an application that please appoint an expert for the examination of the evidence to give a finding whether it is a tempered evidence or not. And the third thing, the right of privacy must give to the husband right to bring the legal evidence to prove his case. So these were the contention of both the parties. So then the High Court of Delhi, the Honorable Judge has referred to the various cases. So just I'm giving you the glimpse of these cases, which also shows that the illegally acquired evidence would be admissible. So first is the Kuruma versus Queen, where the court has stated that it was open to the court not to admit the evidence against the accused if court was of the view that the evidence has been obtained by conduct of which the prosecution ought not to take the advantage. But that was not a rule of evidence, but a rule of prudence and fair play. So that is the one of the initial judgment. Then in the subsequent judgment of R.M. Malkhani versus State of Maharashtra, the Supreme Court observed that such tape recording, which are the relevant conversation, particularly in a case, they would be admissible under Section 7 of the IT Act. So it is talking about the relevancy and admissibility. Third, then we have the judgment of MP Sharma and Puranmal, where the Supreme Court has opined that merely because a search or seizure was illegally conducted and may amount to breach of a fundamental right, that would not make the search or seizure invalid in law. So in the Indian domain, an evidence which may be illegally collected still would be admissible in court of law. Then in the judgment of Puranmal versus Director of Inspection, the court observed that the test of admissibility of evidence lies in its relevancy. So first thing is whether it is relevant or not, right? Unless there is express or necessarily implied prohibition in the Constitution or any other law, that the evidence obtained as a result of illegal search or seizure is not liable to be shut down. So until there is a clear-cut prohibition, even the illegally collected evidence would be admissible. And ultimately, what the court has held that the trial court, while relying upon such evidence, must look into the authenticity and genuineness of the evidence. So one of the biggest challenge with the spyware evidence is the authenticity. So then how the authenticity need to be proved, what are the methods which need to be followed, that we will discuss in the subsequent slides. Then the court has observed that since the spyware contains the data which is private to the individual, the proceeding in the trial court should be conducted strictly within the bound of decency and propriety. Now coming to the one of the another important thing which the court has observed, the court has stated if a person has installed spyware illegally into the other mobile, so that means that person has also committed a cyber crime. So the court has stated that if a person have obtained the evidence illegally, the person is also liable to be prosecuted for that illegal action. So that means in this case, because the husband have installed the spyware into the mobile, though the evidence would be admissible, but the husband would also be liable to be prosecuted for illegally installing the spyware. And then the court has also observed that the privacy is recognized as a fundamental right, so there is no dispute to that. But that alone would not make evidence collected in breach of that right inadmissible. So even if it is in violation of the privacy, that evidence would not be inadmissible. So considering this judgment, a very important judgment, particularly when it has been reported, now in so many cases, the spyware are being used. So decision of the court was that the data acquired by the husband would be admissible. Illegality would be dealt separately, so there would be prosecution for that. Rules of evidence favors a liberal approach in aid of dispensation of justice. So where there is a contradiction, there is a conflict between the privacy or the justice, that justice would prevail. But this judgment should not be taken as a approval to adopt illegal means to collect the evidence. Now we will come to what the spyware is. Whether spyware has any definition in the law? Yes, though it is not by the name of spyware, but we have a definition of computer containment. Under section 43 of the IT Act, it is given into the explanation. So what is the definition of spyware is? Any set of computer instructions, so that means any program that are designed, number one, to modify, destroy, record. So in spyware is recording, because the definition of the computer containment is much wider. It contains your spyware, it contains your Trojan, it contains your virus. So it contains of a number of type of similar software. But spyware is also one of them, right? So third is record. Then fourth is the transmit data. So what does spyware do? They also transmit the data through the internet mean to the person who have installed it, or program residing within a computer system or computer network by any mean to usurp the normal operation of a computer system or computer network. So if we see the functioning of the spyware, how it works, the objective with which it is installed, it comes within a definition of computer containment. So when we come to the spyware categories, so we can divide them into two categories. One is the software based, second is the hardware based. In the software based, we have the spyware, which are in the form of the software, which if installed into the computer of someone, which if installed into the mobile of someone, they have the ability not only to collect the data, but also to transmit the data. And sorry, number of these softwares are available in the market under the different names. So one category is the parental control software. So they comes with an objective that the parent can use them into the by installing into the hard computer or mobile of their children to monitor them. Second category is the monitoring software. But one thing I want to tell you, that installing them on the other computer is illegal. Second category, we have the hardware based. In the hardware based, first category, which is the most sought after, is spy camera. Then we have the audio recorders. Then we have the GPS trackers. Then we have the baby cams. So these are some of the broad categories, but actual categories may vary, and there may be large number of spyware. Now, spyware are not only available to the individual, but there are large number of organizations who are also involved into spying activities. Like we have one of the latest case of the Pegasus, where this company have exploited one of the bug which was available in the WhatsApp, and using that bug, they were able to install the spyware into the individual mobile, and they were able to record the calls which are being made through WhatsApp, messages, and also the location. Now it is an admitted case that they have monitored, they have spied more than 1,400 users around the world, and I think out of them around 150 were from India. But it is an offense. So this is one of the organizations, but if you will see, there are n number of organizations which are involved, because online spying is something which is technically feasible, cheapest, and provides you the widest information. And that is the most effective and the safer way to collect the data. Because otherwise, if a person will go to collect the same data physically, it will cost high. There would be the risk of legal action. So this is one of the cheapest way. So as of now, every company, every individual, every organization who want to collect any such data, they are using the online mechanism to collect the data. So when we come to the spy cam, so you can see there are various categories, but these are not limited. If you go on the internet, you go to the Amazon, you will find 100, 200, some even more than that range of the spyware which are available. And now some of the companies are allowing you that you can get it customized. For example, if you have in your house some clock or some wooden device or wooden painting, you can get installed into that also. So you can also get it customized. But there is one thing which I want to share with you, that all these devices comes with two type of storage. Now we are coming to the technical and the legal challenges. So first is the internal storage, second is the external storage. So external storage means you have a multimedia card, you have a memory card, you can put that. So when you are buying any type of spyware, please make sure that you should purchase a spyware or spyware hardware which is with the external memory. That means it should contain a memory card, and recording can be done in the memory card. So when the memory is full, you can extract that memory card and put a new memory card. So then you would be able to preserve the primary evidence, right? Because if you have an internal memory, with the internal memory, the problem is that once the internal memory is full, you have to delete the original one. So the moment you delete the original one, the chances of proving the authenticity in the court become dim, because then you have to say that original have been destroyed. And if I am an advocate on the opposite side, I would always give a suggestion to you that you have destroyed because you have fabricated the recording. So please keep in mind that in all cases, please take the spyware or hardware with the external memory card. And you can forward the external memory card to the police, to the court, wherever you are using, and that would be primary evidence. And in case of primary evidence, it would be admissible. Authenticating the primary evidence would be much easier as compared to the secondary evidence. Now coming to the audio recording. So with the audio recording, so there are a number of devices which are available. Like you see this Sony recorder, which is most widely used by the investigation agencies. Again, here also you have the we have the same problem. So we have the two options: one to take with the external memory, second with the internal memory. As I have discussed with you earlier, take it with the external memory. The another thing which you need to keep, which the mistake I have found in so many cases, and even the CBI is making in large number of cases, that when you make a recording, and when you are transferring the recording even on any other medium, please make sure not to change the format. Original format is one of the essential requirement under the law. So which law? Section 7 of the Information Technology Act, Clause B. As per the Clause B of the Section 7 of the Information Technology Act, the evidence should be preserved in the original format. So I have seen that mistake is being done by the various persons in large number of cases. Third, we have the GPS trackers. So they are normally being installed to track the location. So recently we got two cases where the husband have installed into the car owned by the wife. So it can be installed anywhere, wherever you want to follow the location of a particular person. So now the advanced trackers, in fact, they are part of the spyware. So they have the dual capacity. Capacity number one is that they can track the location, and capacity number two is that they are also in a position to record the observation, record the communication, and transmit them over the internet. So that means if you install the spyware into the car of anyone, you would have the access to his voice communication. You would also have the access to his location. Similarly, some spyware comes which also gives you the functionality to record the video as well. Mobile device. Now, when we talk about the spyware, when we talk about the recording hardware, so probably the mobile is one of the most sought after, and it is being maximum used because there are a number of reasons. Number one, everybody has a mobile with him. Number two, when you use the mobile, it is very easy to use it, and you can install the software into it. And second is the other person may not have a suspicion, because carrying the mobile is something which is usual, which is routine. So everybody is carrying the mobile, and now people are carrying more than one mobile. But the challenge which I have seen with the mobile, that the number of mobile, they are doing the recording within the inbuilt memory. So within the inbuilt memory, so then would be again the same challenge would be there, that we have discussed earlier also, that in the inbuilt memory, when you transmit the data, you have to delete the original data if you want more recording. That is the one. Second is, even if you have the enough space, you need to preserve the original mobile. And recently I have come across the number of cases where even the people have preserved the original mobile, but over a period of time, either it was stolen or it was not functioning. So it was not possible to show the original evidence to the court. So even if you are using the mobile, please take care to have the external memory card, so that whenever the recording is being done, it should be done in the memory card only. So you also need to define the path that where the recording need to be preserved. So when coming to the spyware and extracting evidence from them and proving that evidence in the court of law. So first is the seizure of device or preservation of device. Second is imaging the storage mechanism. So it may be internal storage, it may be external storage like memory card. Then extraction of the evidence specific to the audio and video. Then one of the very important thing which I have seen is a challenge in so many cases is to prove the timestamp, that the recording has been done on a particular day and particular time, and that time also matches with the time of the recording. Because if your time does not matches with the time of the recording, so as a defense lawyer, I would always put a question to you that why this time does not matches. And next, my suggestion would be, it is correct to suggest that you have fabricated the original audio or video, and that is the reason why the timestamp does not match. Then coming to the seizure of the device. So another one thing which you have to keep always in mind with respect to the spyware is that this spyware has the internal batteries, right? But that battery has a very short span. And another thing is that most of these spyware has their default time within that particular hardware, and which you need to reset. So for example, when you are going to use some spyware, first you need to reset the time. You have to match that time with the time into the open domain with the real time. But even if you have map it with the real time, but the moment the battery is drained, then that time clock will stop functioning. And if it will stop functioning, then later on, at the time of the evidence, proving that that particular time would be a bigger challenge. So that is the first challenge. And second, with the internal storage, the problem is, if you would talk about any of the spyware, so within the hardware, you have one that software which do the recording. Then we have the internal storage. So when you compute it hash value, normally it does not matches. The reason is that particular hardware contains two things. One is the internal storage, second is the software. And they are within one particular hardware. They are not segregated. So that's why if you will compute the prepare the mirror image and try to compute the hash value, they will not match, and this would become one of the challenge during the court proceeding to prove the authenticity of that particular media. So coming to the image, how to preserve that particular imaging the storage medium. So in case of external, it's quite easy, because you have a memory card. You can simply make a bit by bit image of that memory card and do the examination. And at the same time, you can preserve the original one. So in that particular case, your evidence would be reproducible. and re-verifiable. That is one of the requirement for the computer forensic. But in case of the internal storage medium, you would have a number of problems. So first problem would be that if your memory is full and if you have to use that equipment again you have to delete some of the content. So you have to delete the original one. Second, as I've told you, that the complete image would not be created, and size and the hash value will not match with the actual meeting. And in the court, even if you call the experts from the forensic lab, all the experts may not be in a position to match the reason as to why the hash value does not match. Then coming to the issue with the time clock, so that I've already explained to you that time stamp of the recording rely upon the time of the recording device. So for example, if you have purchased some spyware and you have not adjusted the time clock, so it will show the default time. So even if when you have prepared, you have done the recording, all recording will contain the default time stamp. So that will not match with the real time. So that would be one of the challenge. So in most of the devices, there is a text file for setting the time. You have to go to that text file and you have to set the real time. Some of them have a special software that sync their clock. So if you are going to buy, please buy the spyware which has the capacity to sync the time with the other clock and has a good memory, has a good battery, which can store the time, which can make that time clock functioning for a longer period of time. So what the spyware can do, so when we install them into the computer and the mobiles, they do the hogging for your RAM and consume a lot of processing power. They can record the word you type, they can record all the website which you visit, they can record your voice, they can do the mobile recording, they can capture all the data from your mobile or computer and can send it back to the sender. But keep in mind that these are the criminal offenses. So now we are coming to the offensive. So installing a spyware into the computer of anyone would be an offense under the IPC, under the IT Act. For example, here I have taken one example where it has been installed into the laptop of a woman. So with the woman, there are more options for the prosecution. For example, it is an offense under section 66 of the IT Act, then violation of 43, which gives you a right to claim the damages. But it is also a criminal offense under section 354C and 509 of the IPC, particularly in case of woman. So now let us discuss what are the various offenses which are made out. So the first offense is by virtue of section 43 of the IT Act. So section 43 of the IT Act is the provides a basic requirement for an offense to be committed. That is, that if you installed something into the computer or mobile of another person without his knowledge, without his permission. So that's why in the beginning I told you, the moment you are going to install anything into the computer system or mobile of the other person, then it would be an illegal. So section 43, which provides for the civil remedy, says that it would be an illegal, and if a person installed any such spyware, he can be liable to pay the damages up to the extent of 5 crore. But at the same time, if spyware is installed, it is also a criminal offense under section 66 of the IT Act. So these two remedies are available under the IT Act. So first remedy, there are a number of sections, though the remedy would be under the same section. So first is clause 43A. So the moment you unauthorizedly access the computer or mobile of another person, it may be physical, it may be virtual. So that means even virtually you are sending some spyware and installing the laptop or mobile of the another person, it would be violation of clause 8 of section 43 of the IT Act. So online spyware can be installed in a number of ways. So by sending the cookies through the adware, by through the free software, browser hijacking by sending the malware, and sending the spyware as an attachment with the email. So there are a number of ways that spyware can be installed into the remote computer, remote mobiles. So always keep in mind while using the computer that whenever you are getting any of these, please make sure to filter them, to scan them with the antivirus, so that a spyware could not be installed into your computer system or mobile. Then we have the 43B, downloading, copying, or extracting any data from computers. So the moment spyware is installed and any data is received by any person, so that would be again a violation of clause 43B. Now the specific provision for installation of spyware is also there under clause C of 43. Again, it would be the violation of section 43 for civil damages and a criminal offense under section 66 of the IT Act. So the best example to understand how these are being used. So recently, there were so many cases which have been reported in the media where the person have got the OTP and he has not shared the OTP and still the money was transferred. So one of our clients reported in the evening that a amount of rupees 1,50,000 was debited from his account. So when I asked him that whether you got any OTP, he said, yes, I have got the OTP. And my next question was whether you shared the OTP with anyone, because until he shared the OTP with anyone, how the money can be transferred? He stated that I have not shared the OTP with anyone. So when later on we did the scrutiny of his mobile, we find that there was a spyware into his mobile, and that spyware was allowing. So what it allows, whatever the message which were received by our client, the same messages can be accessed on the internet in an account given by this particular website. So that means you need to make sure that no spyware is installed into your computer system. And there are a number of ways by which you can find out whether there is a spyware installed or not. So please ensure that you should check from time to time that no spyware is installed into your computer. So this is another one of the case where the person Anil have installed a application TrackView in the mobile of a person Puneet with the help of his wife. Right. So after that he start getting access to all the messages, MMS calls, and even WhatsApp messages, and he used that data for blackmailing, for extracting the money. And as I have discussed with you, it is in violation of clause 43B and C, and would also be an offense under section 66 of the IT Act. Now coming to some of the other clauses which are under the IT Act. So we have this clause, section 66E IT Act. So what this clause says, that if a person capture, publish or transmit the image of private area of any person without his or her consent under circumstances violating the privacy. So that means if a person installed the spyware, for example, in a toilet or in a hotel room or in a clothes changing stores, and he captured the photograph of the private area. So what is the private area mean? Private area means the naked or undergarment clad genital, pubic area, buttocks or female breast, and under circumstances violating privacy. So that means it should be installed at a place where person expected privacy. For example, in a toilet, every person expected privacy. So if there is any spyware installed into a toilet, so it is a clear-cut offense under section 66E of the IT Act. Then some new provision have been introduced under the IPC also. So we have section 354C. So it says whoever watches or capture the image of, that means again use of spyware, a woman engaging in a private act in a circumstance where she would usually have the expectation of not being observed by the perpetrator or any other person. So I tell you, even if a couple is doing the intercourse and somebody capture it, it still would be an offense. But the thing is that it should not be in public, it should be in private. So in one of the case in the Uttarakhand, in one of the hotel room, a hidden camera was installed, and through the camera, that particular spyware camera, the photographs were being taken, right? So this is a criminal offense under section 354C of the IPC. So spyware, I have told you, as far as the women are concerned, there are additional two provisions, 354D and 509 IPC, which are not available for the men. Then we have the another provision, 354D, right? So subsection 1, clause B. Whoever monitor the use by a person of the internet, email, or any other form of electronic communication, or watches or spies on a person. But again, this is also available only for the women. So if you are going to installing even a GPS tracker or any spyware into the mobile or laptop of any woman, then it would be an offense under section 354D also. So this is another case where we have recently got one FIR registered. So in this case, husband who was having the access to the car of the wife, he has installed a device which was able to capture the location and also the voice communication, right? So then that communication was used by him in one of the case, and based on that evidence, we got registered the counter case against the husband. So then we have the another provision, section 509 IPC, which would also be applicable, particularly the parts 2, which says whoever intrude upon the privacy of such person. So in all the cases where the spyware is being installed, then the section 509 IPC would also be applicable, which is again a cognizable offense. So this is one of the case of the Ghaziabad, wherein the person have installed a tiny secret camera in the female trial. So what this camera was doing, this was capturing the photograph when the customers which were regularly visiting these stores and which were also changing their clothes in the stores. Then the FIR was registered under section 6798, though section 66E is applicable, but at that time section 66E was not into the act. So now coming to the legal parts, admissibility and the authenticity. The first thing is when any evidence is being recorded in a spyware, it may be coming from the software, it may be coming from the hardware, it may be coming from the any of the device. So there are two components which we need to keep in mind. One is the admissibility, second is the authenticity. So for the admissibility, if we are giving the original memory card, it would be admissible under section 62 of the Evidence Act. But if we give it in a we are giving a copy and not the original, then it has to be accompanied by a certificate under section 65B. So in Anwar PV, the Supreme Court has stated that with the secondary evidence, the certificate under section 65B is mandatory. But keep in mind that if you have given a certificate under section 65B, it would be admissible, but not necessarily authentic. So for authenticity, it's better to get it forensically examined and file with the forensic report. And the other way is give the primary evidence and request the court to get it forensically examined from a forensic lab. So now we have the latest judgment of Arjun Pandita Rao again, where the Supreme Court has upheld the judgment of Anwar PV, stated that the certificate under section 65B is mandatory. So please keep in mind that you must give the certificate under section 65B. If you need a pro forma, you can visit our website www.cyberpandit.org, where we have put the pro forma of 65B for every type of evidence. It is there for computer, it is there for mobile, it is there for the spyware, it is there for the CCTV. So you can download the pro forma, and depending upon the fact of your case, you can little bit modify it. So 65B is mandatory, and oral testimony cannot substitute the 65B. So now in the latest judgment of Arjun Pandita Rao, the Supreme Court has stated that 65B certificate has to be given. Oral testimony would not work. Another which stage you can file the 65B? So you can file the 65B till the stage of evidence. So that means even if you have not filed with the police at the stage of charge sheet, does not matter. Not filed at the stage of charge does not matter. even if you can file it even at the stage of evidence, when actually that evidence, spyware evidence, is being exhibited in the court. So you can file till that stage. Who cannot give the certificate? So now this is one of the gray area. For example, if the original recording have been deleted, so you have a copy, then you cannot give a certificate under section 65B. Right? So the number one, if a person is not in possession of original, he cannot give. Second, if the original have been destroyed, certificate under section 65B cannot give. So that is another reason why I'm recommending, please make sure that if you are using any spyware or tool, you must use a external memory card to preserve the original recording, original evidence. Otherwise, it would be a challenge till the trial, either due to the admissibility issue or due to the authenticity issue. So if there is a no certificate under 65B, opposite party can raise the objection, and then that evidence would be discarded from the case. So you may have the true evidence, it may be authentic, but if there is no certificate under section 65B, if it does not comply with the legal procedure, still it would not be admissible. So, but in the foreign country, so this is one of the judgment from the state of Florida in US, where again the person have used the spyware evidence against her husband. In this case, the lady have used against her husband. So the court has stated that illegally acquired evidence is not admissible, but keep in mind that in Indian domain, illegally acquired evidence is admissible. You may prosecute the person for illegality, but sometimes the weight of the evidence is so huge that if there is any evidence for you, you would have no option but to surrender, either to lose a case or in any way, depending upon what the evidence is. So any question you have, so you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hey Neeraj, it's Anil here.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you, but your voice is low.
Okay, I will try to speak a little bit loud. Is it okay now?
Yeah, it is better than earlier.
Okay, I actually posted the question in chat also, but it is a little lengthy. Since you have discussed about the evidence obtained illegally is also admissible in Indian court. So in same connection, the current high voltage case in Mumbai, Maharashtra, the phone tapping case of all the politicians, will that illegally what they claim is illegally obtained evidence, but then will that be admissible in the court of law?
See, there are a number of judgments relating to the intercepted call, though there is a judgment from Bombay High Court which say it is not admissible, but most of the judgment coming from the other court says that it would be admissible.
So it will depend on the court and probably the context of the case.
So my own view is that it would be admissible because the number of judgment of Supreme Court, which are the older judgment, earlier judgment says that the illegally acquired evidence would be admissible.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, I had one question.
Yes.
Nowadays, some of the companies are selling some spy software.
Yeah.
And officially, they are also providing their billing also. And a number of company are installing those software in their employees' computers to just observing that what kind of thing they are going to be do on the computers, providing by the company only. And when they found something wrong, they can cover up with the screenshot because the software is continuously taking the screenshot of the company, whatever they're doing, employee on the computer. So if this kind of evidence collected by the company, as you say, it is a legal way, so it is admissible in the court also, right, sir?
Yes, it is fully admissible. So there is no issue as far as the legality is concerned. In US, there is an additional law where they say when you are going to monitor the devices given to your employees, you need to inform them that you are going to monitor them. But in India, there is no law. But as far as the woman is concerned, there is a law under section 354D. Right?
Yes, sir.
The only issue which comes is that company claim it is their own device. But when you are giving it to someone to use, so then they must inform them. So you will find one clause into the employee-employer agreement, said that the company would be saying that we have a right to monitor all the devices given to you for the purpose of cyber security. And so therefore you are advised not to share any of your personal data. So it make it fully legal.
Absolutely, sir. And sir, one thing more that the company who are selling this kind of software is also legal.
Yes,
Private
as far as
software.
it is not an issue.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else? Otherwise, you can access the video recording of this webinar on my channel Cyber Pandit on the YouTube. So even you can get the recording of even all the previous webinars.
So really grateful. It's a really wonderful.
Sir, one question, sir.
जी, बताएं राकेश जी.
Sir. Suppose there is a situation where the husband's wife has got some photographs. Husband's brother has got some photographs from wife's mobile phone, not actually a computer. And that photographs is, I mean, maybe illegal in terms of the matrimonial disputes, maybe. And that photographs may be used. Now, there are two questions that arise. That mobile is not a computer that you said. And the second is whether that admissibility of evidence will be there as per your husband and wife case that you cited in the very first few minutes.
So
That-
first thing I tell you that the mobile is a computer, because
Mobile-
there is a definition of computer, and the simple definition is any device which contains three functionalities: arithmetic, logic, and memory.
Sir.
That would be a computer. So
Sir.
you can apply it into anything. Even if your washing machine has that capability, automated washing machine, still it would be a computer.
Computer, sir.
So
Sure.
applying that definition, all the gadgets which we are using now, which have these three functionalities, would be a computer, and even your spyware hardware also, right?
Yes.
Because it also has three functionalities. Because you can do adjust the logical function, number one. Number two, you can do the recording, but it may not have the arithmetic. So probably depending upon the nature of the device, so you need to see these three features.
Sir.
Number two, even if it is taken from the mobile of a wife, still it would be admissible, because section 65B is not the only law. There are a number of principles of interpretation which are also applicable. For example, if the husband is able to prove that I have taken these photographs from the mobile of the wife, then the burden will shift on the wife to rebut that evidence.
Yes.
So
So
that is
60
another
So
principle of
65B for that certificate evidence and all will not play a role. 65B will not be a defensive.
No, 65B would still be required. If I have transferred it on my mobile, then it would be required.
Yes, that is all.
If I am not transferred directly taken from it, probably then it would not be required. But still, you have to be cautious, because on this there is no judgment as of now. So it would be better that you give a 65B, let it come into the argument, then you apply this principle of interpretation. It would be applicable.
No, even after Arjun Pandit Rao, this matter is settled now. That no 65B shall be required when it is a secondary evidence.
Now, in Arjun Pandita Rao, the Supreme Court had stated that 65B is essentially required.
Sir.
Right? Only there is a one exception where 65B would not be required. That is, if the person is not in possession of original device and all the effort have been made to obtain the 65B from the person in whose possession the original device is.
Sir.
Only after that, there may be an exemption from 65B. Otherwise, there is no provision to exempt from 65B.
In this case also, the assumptions case that I cited, sir, 65B certificate shall be required. I mean, as a defense lawyer, I can place there.
Yeah, yes. And you can place it at any stage, even at the stage of evidence.
and the proceedings against the husband's brother for obtaining that illegally that photographs can be started as per that husband versus wife case you cited in the first few minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Sir, this is Advocate Gaurav Bhardwaj, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sir, I have a question. Aside from the personal cases or the matrimonial cases where husband or wife spies on each other, is there any exception that if I'm spying from a particular person's computer device and the act that the person is doing is itself illegal under the penal sanctions of the country? For example, it is for waging war or something like that. So is that exception under the violating the privacy of that person? Will I be tried for violating the privacy?
See, law is there and there is no exception. That whenever you are using spyware, when you are unauthorizedly accessing the computer or laptop of another person, there is no exception as to that. That power is only with the government to monitor it by virtue of Section 69B of the Information Technology.
So, sir, the court will suo motu take cognizance of that thing, or will the defense has to raise that question?
The reason is if a person is an affected, because this is a crime which is an individual one. So if I am a suffering party, so until I make a complaint, the court cannot take the cognizance.
Right, sir. Right, sir. That is what I was trying to look for.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, right then. Thanks to all of you again being with me. So on the next Saturday, again, we are going to have a session on video evidence.
Sir,
Yeah,
one
tell-
question.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
sir. So in the spywares, generally, sir, like a user can install the spyware on the target mobile. The mobile will be the user ID and password is known by that suspect, and he will be logging into the cloud. Through cloud, whatever the records are there, he will be downloaded. So in
Yes.
this scenario, sir, like cameras and all, generally they have the external memory, so that it is a primary evidence. So, but in this scenario, like most of the data in the cloud format, and the user can download the specific file into his own machine. So in this situation, which one is a primary evidence? Is a cloud, generally these are all spywares on the foreign countries only. So this is the situation, sir.
You are right. The original primary would be on the cloud, and whatever you are downloading is the second.
Acha.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to take the so these are foreign clouds, so foreign server cities, the data is there. So our 65B is applicable for that.
It would be applicable because in cloud, whenever wherever the location may be, but again, you have the dominion over that particular account. For example, I give you a very good analogy. In case of email account, again, your email account is located in a foreign country, in a foreign server, right? Even if you take the example of Gmail, but still you have a control over it. And that is the reason you can rely upon the email. So you can apply the similar analogy there.
Okay.
Right?
Sir, and one more point, sir. If I collect the some person through, it's not a spy model, it's an open source intelligence. I used it. So that evidence is, shall we consider as a primary evidence, or the OSINT? If I'm applying the OSINT on the specific person, so he is doing some anti-national activities. So those evidences, open source intelligence evidence, is considered as the primary evidence.
No, it would not be primary until you exhibit the source. For example, you did the OSINT, you have compiled the material, and you are relying upon that. So first thing we have to prove the authenticity of the place from where we are taking the data.
Right.
So that become a little bit more tricky. So there the challenge is more, because you are not the author of that data.
Right, sir. Right.
So that data have been created when the
By some source.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, right. So thanks to all of you for being with me. Still, you have any question, you can always send me the message or post on my social media. Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very informative, sir. Very informative.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good session.